So when you need to create a new report in Salesforce, I've got a very important rule that will help you succeed in getting the right data and will also save you lots of time. That rule is, do not open Salesforce and attempt to create a new report. The reason I say that is this. Over the years, I've seen many clients jump straight into the Salesforce report creator and start building a new report. They then often end up frustrated in not getting the report they need and subsequently lose faith in Salesforce. The way to succeed in Salesforce reporting is to first really understand what question you are asking and what answers you expect it to bring back in that report. If the data exists in the system, Salesforce cannot return a wrong report. It can only give you what you ask. If the report you've created looks wrong, then you have not asked Salesforce the right questions. This, of course, is relatively easy when creating a straightforward accounts report, such as how many clients do we have in the system. But it becomes slightly more difficult when the questions are of a higher complexity, such as, well, what percentage of my sales pipeline is for professional services? So this is where step 2 comes in. Step 2. So open up your notepad and let's start to write down what you need to see in a report. For example, I might want to write something like, I want to see a sales pipeline for the next 3 months showing the weighted value of the deals that should close in each quarter. Let's look at an example of that. So here is my notepad detailing that particular requirement. And in my second requirement, I also want to see the deals detailed by product name and all the values totaled by that value. So these are common requirements, but it's a good example for us to use to look at the way that the reporting function is structured. The clearer you are here, the better. So think of, what does good look like? For example, what questions are your executive team asking from a report and for what reasons? It may be that these questions will help cash flow planning or investments or simply satisfy a sales report at regular board meetings. It is important to spend some time on this. Do not rush this, as time spent here clearly defining what you expect will save a lot of time in the report build process. In my experience, clients may not articulate what they really need when requesting a report. This often leads to reports being delivered that are unsatisfactory. Therefore, you need to be extremely clear in the requirement scope. Writing this down is often the best way to achieve that. So let's move on to step 3. So now we've got a really clear view of what we want to achieve from a Salesforce report. We can then go and look at how do we actually want that Salesforce report to look, how do we want it grouped. And a good way to do that is to create a simple spreadsheet like I have with this Google spreadsheet, and to start to lay out the look and feel of the report. So for instance, in my example, I've put the values in this top column here, but then broken down into their various segments that I would like to report on. And then I've put the date values running across the top. So month 1, month 2, of course they could be quarter 1, quarter 2, etc. Then each of the subsequent rows has got its own subtotal value, finished off by a grand value at the end. So now I've got not only a really good understanding of the data I want to get out of Salesforce, I've also got a bit of understanding of how I would kind of like it to look, and that will make things a lot easier moving forward. Now that we've got that, we're ready to move to the next step. Now we've done our background work, we can actually log into Salesforce, but take note, we are not yet ready to go to the report creator. We first need to ensure that the data we want to report on exists in the system and is there in a format that we can report on. To do this, open Salesforce and navigate to a record where you believe this data resides. In my example, most of the data will sit on the opportunity record. So I've located and opened an opportunity record so I can do a visual check. Now in my report, I want to group closed deals, so I obviously need the stage report, and I want to group them by date, so I can use the close date report for grouping. I also need the probability of the deal to give me its weighted value. And I probably would like the amount field and potentially the owner field, just in case I'm asked any further questions regarding the report. If all these are present and all these have a value on the record, then we're good to go. Now that we have identified most of the fields, we can then compare them back to the spreadsheet that we created earlier to ensure that we are getting all the data we need. However, in this example, there is one other value that we need in our spreadsheet, which is to do with the products, and the products are not sitting on the detail record of the opportunity. That's because Salesforce is designed with multiple objects, and these are joined to make it easy to view data. As a rule of thumb, if you can see the field on the details section of the record, then it resides within that particular object, in this example, the opportunity. If the data is visible in one of the subsections of the page, then that sits in a related object within Salesforce, and this is a visual join to make it easier for the user. In our example, products is a related object, and we need to view this item to see where the data resides. We now need to locate the fields in this product object to ensure that we pull back this data in our report. We are now ready to move to step 6. Step 6. So now we've done all our preparation work, we can continue to create our new report. So click on the Reports tab, select the button New Report. And it's at this stage that we have to select the report type. Now earlier on I was talking about report types and what we need for this particular report. So we need to pull fields from both the opportunity and its related products into the same report. So we're looking for a report type which is opportunities with products. Now you can see one listed here on my screen. That's because Salesforce is bringing back recently used report types. On your screen you may not see that. So the way to go about that, to look for that report type, is first of all go down on the left hand side, click on opportunities, and that should bring back a subset of report types related to opportunities, and hopefully you should be able to find it there. If you still can't because you've got a lot of custom report types in your system and it's just too hard to find, you can just do a search in the search box here and that actually should bring that up. So opportunities with products is the one I want. I'm going to click on that and then select the blue button to the right hand side. Now Salesforce does a couple of things to try and help us in building a report. The first thing it does is it creates a filter of the report. And the reason it does that is if you've got a Salesforce org with a lot of records in that, that can sometimes really slow down the process of when you're building a report, as it's constantly trying to bring back lots and lots of records in that report. So with having a filter in, we can cut down the amount of records being pulled just to a subset, and it makes it quicker. I actually don't want it in this case. I want close dates to be all time, so I'm going to remove that particular filter. I'll certainly widen the spec of the filter. Everything else looks okay, so I just want opportunity status where they're open because this is a pipeline report. So that's fine, we've dealt with the filters. The next thing that Salesforce does is it brings back some suggested fields for us across here to help us in building our report. We actually don't really want those. I found with my years of experience that you can often spend so much time pulling off the ones you don't want, searching for the ones that you do. It's probably better to start from scratch, and that's what I'm going to suggest you do now. So we're going to go over to Outline tab. Just go down to where you see the word columns, and to the right of that's a little drop down box, and we're going to pick remove all columns. And that should then give me a blank palette. If you don't see a blank palette and you see fields but they're greyed out, it's because you just need to tick the box in the top right which is update preview automatically, and then you'll see a nice blank palette like so.
So that's great. All the filters correct, and we can actually go and start picking our fields. Now there's just a few fields we need. We need opportunity name. So I'm just going to search name in the search box there and pick that. Just click on it and then it moves it into the right hand side palette. I could actually go and look up the names down here. They go in kind of alphabetical order. But I actually just find that searching for them is just easier in this stage, particularly when you're bringing back multiple objects. There's a lot of fields involved, so it's probably just easier to do it that way. We want expected revenue. We want close date. We wanted the product code. That was the other one from the other object. And that's fine. May take amount just as well while it's here, which is fine. So now we've got our fields pulling through. We need to just have a quick eyeball of the data and check that it's bringing back values we expect, or there's no blank values. Quite often, if someone's created a custom field and given it a very similar name, you may accidentally pick the wrong field and then not quite get the results you want. So it's good to have kind of a visual check at this point in time. And that's great. Salesforce also does limit the fields it can bring back at this stage on this palette here. So don't think this is kind of the gospel that you're bringing back. This is purely to help you in the design mode at this moment in time. If I want to see everything, I need to press that run button up there, but I don't need to do that just yet. I'm just going to carry on with my design. So if we remember from designing our Excel, we've got a couple of groupings to do. One was close date, so we can see we've got dates going down here, and the other one was product code. I'm just going to group the close date first of all, so I can just go pick on the arrow to the right hand side, group rows by this field. And you can see the screen change straight away. So I've now got close date grouped down the left hand side here, and our remaining fields across on the right. And if you have a look in the section on the left hand side, you'll see it's automatically moved that field out into this group row section up here. So that's looking great. We do also want to group the product as well. So we'll group rows by this field also. And you can see now it's moved that up into this section as well. I've now got two fields, close date and product code, and that's now showing grouped on the palette itself. So I've got close date and by product code. So one thing that's not working quite right for me at this moment in time, and that's the close date is showing the actual date itself. It's not showing by month, so I'm just going to change that, and then the way to do that is go into close date, drop that down, and we're going to say group by calendar month. You only get this choice when you've moved into a grouping, by the way, so if you try and do it too early you don't see this. You've got to get it into group stage first of all, and we change the calendar month, and now we can see June, July 2023. Just going to run that report so we can just do a quick visual check. So we've got the dates here, and then we've got the subsets of the product code there. So we're making good progress now with this report. Not quite as I want it just yet. There's a couple of other things to do. And that is, I'd like this close date, rather than kind of run down this left hand side here, I want it to go across the top like in my Excel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the close date here, and I'm going to drag it in the little column section just below. Like so. So when it goes blue I can drop that there, and that's fine. Now you may notice that when I do that, the grouping that I actually created to put it into months has kind of disappeared again. It's kind of gone retrospective. So because I've changed it into a different section, I just need to go back in and tell it again. So I just go back to close date, group by calendar month. And now that's moved to June, July, August 2023. I'll just run that again, just do a quick visual check. And that looks fine. It's a little bit busy. It's also brought back the amount, which was an extra field I added in. So at this stage I could take that out now if I actually still just want expected revenue. I'm just going to click back into the edit and change a couple of other things. So I want to make the report less busy. So if I move down to the bottom, and look at these little tick boxes here. I'll just take out detail, and I'm going to take out row counts as well. I don't want row counts, and that's looking fine. And we can also, if we wish, take out grand summaries there, or stat summaries if we want to take that out. We'll leave those two in for now and rerun that report. And that's great. That's kind of looking how we want it now. We've got our dates running across the top like we had in our spreadsheet. We've then got the codes by subsection. I've got my expected revenue in there, and I've added in the amount as well, just so I can do a comparison against that. So one thing left to do, I can now save that report, and we'll call that pipeline with products 2023, and then save. So that's great. That's the end of the session now. Hope you enjoyed that. If you've got any other questions regarding Salesforce reports and dashboards, please contact me on the website. Thanks for watching.